From the US Mint's gold supply chain unraveling in spectacular fashion to Norway's largest Viking silver hoard found ever. This is your weekly Numismatic News Roundup. Mark your calendars because on May the 7th at noon, the US Mint opened sales for the 2026 American Buffalo 1-ounce gold-proof coin, and this one's a little different. It carries the dual 1776 to 2026 date and the Liberty Bell 250 privy mark, technically making it a one-year-only semi-quincentennial type coin issue, struck from 1 troy ounce of 4/9 fine gold from the West Point Mint. Products are limited to only 15,000 coins, so if you want one, you know what to do. Then, crossing the Atlantic, the Royal Mint has something softer in store. The Royal Mint has released the second coin in their Winnie the Pooh limited edition collector series. This time, the coin is called Loyalty and is themed around the idea of friendship. Uncirculated, brilliant uncirculated, colorized, silver-proof, and gold versions are available, matching every price point along the way. Not far from London, well, at least geographically speaking, a much older tradition of commemoration is playing out in Athens. As the Bank of Greece Mint is marking the 250th anniversary of Ioannis Kapodistrias, Greece's first modern head of state, with 2 coins. A €10 silver piece, just 1,500 coins made, went on sale on April the 28th at €140, and a gold €200 following on May the 13th, limited to just 1,000 coins at €1,400. A beautiful commemorative for a historically significant figure. All 5 2026 W Proof American Gold Eagles options cracked the Mint's top 10 weekly sellers list for this week. The 1/10 of an ounce led the pack with 319 coins added. Meanwhile, the emerging Liberty Dime 2-roll set hit 11,935 pieces. That's just 65 away from the 12,000 product limit. Bags are already hitting 2,322 above their stated limit at 10,322. The semi-quincentennial anniversary coins are clearly a huge hit with collectors this year. Let's go back almost 1,000 years, because this week brought one of the most extraordinary numismatic discoveries in recent memory. On April the 10th, detectorists Vagard Surli and Rune Setra were working on a farm field near Rena in eastern Norway, when their detectors simply wouldn't stop beeping. They found 19 silver coins, did the right thing, immediately stopped, and called the archaeologists. And what followed turned into a national event. Within a week, over 3,000 silver coins had been recovered. It's now Norway's largest Viking Age coin hoard on record ever. It's called the Murstad Hoard, after the farm where it was found. The coins span from the 980s to the 1040s, English pennies from Ethelred II and Knut the Great, German issues, Danish coins, and, crucially, some very early Norwegian coins minted under Harald Hardrada, establishing Norway's very first national coinage around 1045. The hoard was likely buried around 1047. That's right around the middle of the transition from a Viking economy, which was running on foreign silver, to something more recognizably Norwegian. Whoever buried these coins did so hoping to come back for them later, but never did. The condition is also extraordinary. The soil at the site is virtually stone-free, which means that nearly 1,000 years of plowing barely scratched the silver. Some pieces look almost newly minted. Hack silver, which are cut fragments of jewelry used as currency, was also found alongside the coins. Norway's Cultural Heritage Ministry has committed 1.2 million kroner to continue the excavation with ground-penetrating radar. Professor Gulbeck at the Museum of Cultural History put it simply as such. They have broken a barrier here. This is truly exceptional. The detectorists have been widely praised for following the rules to the letter. This is truly a model find, and a career-defining one for everyone involved. From Norway, 1,000 years ago, let's travel to Germany and a much smaller coin with a surprisingly long journey. A 13-year-old schoolboy was walking across a farm field in Berlin's Spandau district when he noticed a small bronze coin. Small is an understatement, as this was just 12 millimeters across, smaller than a dime. After specialist analysis with help from Münzkabinett Berlin, the verdict came back. It's an ancient coin from Troy, minted around 281 to 261 BCE. Athena on the obverse, Athena Ilias on the reverse. And here's the thing, it's the first ancient Greek artifact found in Berlin. How a Trojan coin ended up in a Berlin burial ground roughly 2.5 or 2,300 years later is a genuine mystery. Trade via the Amber Road, perhaps, or a Macedonian mercenary buried far from home. Nobody knows. But the coin went on public display at Petri, Berlin on April the 15th. Sounds like a genuinely fascinating visit if you're passing through. So, the good news first. The hobby's alarm system worked. At the Central State Show on April the 24th, 2 suspects offered dealer Tony Grickwich a 1709 Lima 8 escudos from the 1715 treasure fleet, a very rare date, a suspicious price, and a thin story. Grickwich checked with 1715 fleet specialist David Huang, then found a match in Dan Sedgwick's records. The coin had sold for $40,500 in November of 2025. So he stalled them, talking about payments and calling a buyer, stalling while security brought in local police. Both suspects were arrested on the bourse floor. The coin, which was reported as stolen, was recovered. That matters because the 1715 plate fleet was not just an ordinary treasure. 11 Spanish galleons sank off of Florida in 1715, carrying New World gold and silver home to Spain. This coin, pedigreed to the McGregor collection, had a paper trail, and the hobby knew how to read it. But while collectors were protecting one piece of American numismatic history, another story was unfolding at the very center of American gold coinage. On April the 26th, the New York Times published a major investigation into the U.S. Mint's gold supply chain. Federal law requires American Eagle bullion coins to be struck from newly minted domestic gold. What the Times found was that the Mint had been ignoring that law for decades. The supply chain, as traced by the New York Times, runs through Colombian mines in territories controlled by Clan del Golfo drug cartels, through Mexican and Peruvian pawn shops, through a Congolese mine partly owned by the Chinese government, and through a Honduran operation that had reportedly dug up an indigenous burial site. That gold gets blended with domestic supply at US refiners, reclassified as American, and then stamped with the bald eagle. A 2024 Treasury Inspector General audit had already found the Mint hadn't verified supply origins for roughly 20 years. When the Times first asked the Mint, they said their gold was entirely from the United States. After the evidence was presented, that became primarily from the United States. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent has since announced a procurement review for collectors who spent years buying American eagles as a statement of domestic provenance. This is a significant betrayal of what that promised. Maryland's General Assembly passed SB 309 this week, unanimously in both chambers. 42-0 in the Senate and 133-0 in the House. The bill expands the state's precious metal bullion tax exemption from transactions at the Baltimore Convention Center to qualifying bullion sales anywhere in the state. The $1,000 threshold remains in place, but it still needs a signature. But with those margins, it looks solid. From Maryland, a quick hop over to Wisconsin for a paperwork win. Under 2025 Wisconsin Act 124, effective as of March the 29th, Wisconsin no longer requires purchasers to present an exemption certificate to qualify for sales tax relief on precious metal bullion. Taxability now depends on whether the item itself meets the statutory definition. Full stop. So less paperwork and simpler compliance for both dealers and buyers alike. A quiet change, but a very welcome one. Subscribe to WNN, and if you missed last week's episode, you can catch it right here. Next, for the World Numismatic News, I am Numisman saying thank you for watching, keep collecting, and have a fantastic day.